back with another episode of The Tiger King. I mean, Milo Yiannopolous. For the last two videos, I covered some pretty serious topics in my life, and I thought maybe this week I'll do something a little bit easier. So about 5 days ago, I came across a video from Milo Yiannopolous, which is so cleverly named A Message to My Gay Brothers and Friends. I was reminded of a few topics that I thought would be interesting to share with you. This is not an I Hate Milo video, although as the title of one of his bestsellers, some of the things he says is dangerous. I thought I would read the description of his channel because he's trying to be a smartass. He's trying to be witty and charming in a very arrogant way. That's his character. And I've known people like that, especially in the seminary. There were a few characters that I admired for their intellectual capacity. But after leaving the church and not having to deal with those people, my life is a lot more simple. But let's read his description so you kind of get an idea of what I mean. Milo Yiannopolous, I'm sure he wrote this, is an award-winning ex-gay Catholic journalist, a New York Times best-selling author, a global political sensation, a free speech martyr, an accomplished serial entrepreneur, a hair icon, a penitent, and, to the annoyance of his many enemies, a happy person. I've always appreciated people who are very authentic face to face, and their whole persona is not meant to, through their intellectual prowess, to teach you something or to correct you in a certain way. I've had superiors like that in the seminary that would make fun of you to toughen you up and to put you in your place, but also to teach you something about yourself, because that's their God-given purpose in life. Blah, 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 blah. The last sentence. Milo lives in Florida, where he is preparing to open a reparative therapy clinic for men plagued by same-sex attraction. The plague. I think that the plague is not the attraction, but the person that is trapped in their own passions and problems and traumas of their life. I don't think that the same-sex attraction is what is causing the pain, but those people, those individuals who use their same-sex attraction as an excuse to live in a certain lifestyle, like Milo admits many times in his interviews, I think that's what needs to be looked at in psychology, and not try to pin it all down upon the same-sex attraction. Let's look at the video.
Today is my 1 year straight anniversary. It's a year from the day I said I was going to put sodomy and lust behind me and live more closely according to God's wishes for me.
One of the things that is very interesting to me is how open he is about all of his sexual exploits or lack thereof in this circumstance, because in Catholicism, you don't talk about sex. People should, especially parents, should be able to speak openly to their children about that, but he is definitely breaking barriers in that aspect, which, okay, that's a good thing. What I think which is going to come up is a misconception about what it's like to be a Catholic, because I think most Catholics who are well-formed, they understand what is expected of them, especially for adolescent boys concerning sex. the priest makes sure to express those ideas and what's forbidden. All the rules. You can't do this. You can't do that. So that's pretty clear. This whole idea of having a year without committing sodomy, so without having sexual relations with a man, which he has stated in other videos that he did break that year once, which he doesn't say here. I don't know why. Maybe it just doesn't fit with the narrative. But this idea of determining not to fall into those sins. I mean, maybe for Milo, maybe he's a true example of someone with an iron will who just decides to change their life and not to do something and then just does it, even though he did say he broke it once, which he doesn't say here. There are people out there who are very strong in their will, but I would say that the majority of people are not like that. And especially within Catholicism, when there's the idea of, we're constantly sinning, we constantly need help, and we constantly need to go to confession. And for adolescent men, this is something that perpetually is the same sins, if you know what I mean. It's very deceptive to present yourself as like, look, I have done this for a year, even though he didn't, but I've done this for a year, and he's going to reflect on it and say, this is possible for you. Keep that in mind.
And since I did that, everything in my life has begun to get better. I didn't wake up today especially celebratory, but rather prayerful, because I am aware that I have a responsibility to share this gift with others. I have only managed to get where I am, to do this, well, for two reasons really. One is prayer, appealing to our Heavenly Father for the strength to resist urges. And the other is thanks to you guys, the viewers, the listeners, both mine and here at the True News family as well.
You got to put the plug in.
Thanks to the haters, the skeptics, the deniers. It's the scorn and doubt poured upon this, just as much in a sense as the love, that has made it a pleasure to prove people wrong. But it's also those of you who've been keeping me accountable. I've always said on the show, and sometimes in strong language, sometimes in a way that offends people, that tough love is the love that matters. And my readers and listeners have given me just that. They've given me a lot of tough love, and without that, I don't know if I'd be here today. Now, as I mentioned, I woke up in more of a prayerful mood than a celebratory one, because I know that I have a responsibility, a spiritual and moral obligation.
I remember when I was still a teenager, so this was before going to college, I went on my first retreat, a silent retreat, and I heard so many stories from people. These retreats, they change you fundamentally, and you really have a true conversion moment. And these people, and I thought, oh gosh, like, you feel this pressure, like, oh, I hope that happens to me. After I left, you have such this elated feeling, and you feel like you have become truly converted. Like you have finally taken the definitive step in the right direction, and it's only uphill from that point up to heaven. And another thing that comes is this feeling of wanting to give this same feeling to everyone. You have this zeal of apostolatizing and giving the true word to everyone. And it's this high. It's like a high, it's like a drug. And I see in Milo the same type of sentiment in how he's speaking. And he has this obligation share to everyone else. And you know what's interesting? After the retreat, real life hits, and you realize that you're still the same person. You still have to deal with the same things every day. You haven't changed fundamentally. And what you felt was that just a feeling. What happens is within a lot of new converts or people who just find religion, especially after having a life of trauma and excesses of drugs and sex and all of that, which I think that a lot of that new feeling needs to be absorbed, and you need to think about it and think about really what's happening instead of just acting and I need to do all of this. I have so much influence. I'm such an important person in the world, and I need to use my platform for. Okay, take a second and really think, am I in a position, am I a master of what I want to give to other people? Your words and your influence can affect other people in a bad way. Maybe you had a good experience, but did you go to a school for this? Are you a master of spirituality? Are you a master in all these things that you want to share with other people? I know in my case, I realized very quickly that I had to stick to what I knew, and I couldn't pretend to be someone that I wasn't. And even looking at the way that Milo is situated, how he's talking, even his clothes, he's giving besides the hair, he's giving a very pastorly vibe, that he's spreading the truth, the word, and being in that type of position can be good, or it can be very detrimental for people, because especially those who are struggling with homosexuality within the confines of Catholicism, they're looking for any possible solution to their issue. So maybe for one particular person, they were able to make a decision not to be gay or not to act upon it, or maybe they realized that their whole life is based upon very traumatic events and they're able to fix it, which results in not being homosexual. Maybe that's the case, but everything that I'm hearing from him, not just in this video, I've seen a lot of his recent interviews, even with Church Militant, that he seems very sure and very confident in everything that he's saying. And although I am not in the same position that he is in, I went 27 years without acting out sexually with another person, and I would never have told other people exactly what they needed to do, or they needed to do exactly what I was doing.
To make good to the people I've hurt, and to reach minds that I haven't touched yet, and offer them help, if I can, to embark on the same journey that I am currently engaged on. And this message today is for you. If you're one of those people that thinks of themselves as gay, but in the back of your mind, something's always not quite been right about it.
Yeah, something's not right. These people are told that being gay is the worst thing in the world, and that they're disgusting, unnatural people. And so, yeah, they're going to think that something's not right.
Sort of known that this is not really what you want. Perhaps you've looked at gay pride as I have, with a mix of consternation and horror. Something twists in the pit of your stomach when you see it.
Don't worry, this will be the last long commentary for this video, because I think it's important. I too have my criticism of the gay community, the gay pride movement, and I think that it's excessive. I think that it promotes a certain way of behaving which is not good for anyone, that actually does harm for people. And most importantly, it doesn't provide happiness to people, stability, because it's based on lust and your feelings and following your feelings, when that just is a black hole that can never be full. I think that him proposing a higher way of existence is a good thing. But what happens with a lot of people that I've seen is that they go from one extreme to another. So maybe someone who had a very strict life, and they've always had it, they always felt like they were tied up and they were never able to do anything. When they break free of those bonds, they go to the other extreme and they do every possible excess imaginable. And I see that, and we see it all the time. Kids going to college and everything. It happens. But then you have the people who go to the other extreme, or start from the extreme of excesses and decadence, drugs, alcohol, sex, and not finding happiness in that. They then throw themselves into a very strict environment, religion. And then those types of people become the warriors of that change, because they want to help other people, which is good. It's always good to want to help other people. I've noticed in the past 4 years that I've left the church, now that I'm completely free and I can do whatever I want, why have I not done all the things that were not permitted to me? Like, I barely drink, I don't do drugs, and I'm not sex obsessed. And I think it is due to my formation, but it's due to the fact that I actually absorbed some of the more logical aspects of my past and made the choice not to act like that. Not just because it was the religious environment that I was in, but it was because I saw that there's no happiness in there. There's moments of gratification, but it just leads to darkness and more emptiness and the need to want to fill it more and more and more. So I think using the basis of, well, you see those crazy people over there who are doing X, Y, and Z, so therefore come to this extreme. I don't think that follows. I think that with a lot of things, moderation is the best way to act. And I think that there is a healthy, normal, and may I say it, a human natural way of living the gay lifestyle. And that's something that I would like to express and promote through my life, being an example.
Well, if that does describe you, and even if it doesn't, I have good news for you, which is that born this way,
even though I said all of these things, even if it doesn't,
is a lie. It's propaganda. It's not true.
Okay, so anybody who is in the gay movement, who is up with the science, will realize that the born this way argument has long, well, not long, but within the past few years, has been disproven as the main answer. That it's unprovable because it's so complex. Human sexuality is complex, and there's no gay gene, but you can't take the biology out of it. It's not just nature or nurture.
You can get better. You can change. You can live as you were always supposed to. And when you do that, everything in your life will start to get better.
I'm getting QVC vibes and Southern Baptist vibes. Anybody else?
It has for me. I've been very blessed in my life to have enjoyed enormous success in various endeavors, some failures in others.
He's humble.
And now I feel a compulsion to share my journey and my message with others. A month or so ago, I tossed my engagement ring into the Pacific Ocean.
These people are actors. I remember the priest that I grew up with. He was someone like this. He was someone who had to make big statements and do these grand gestures. And only by doing these things could you really commit and show that you commit. He could have sold the ring and given it to I don't know, some sort of charity or so, I don't know, to me. I'm not joking.
I moved to Florida. I'm here partly to share my testimony here on True News, but also to open a center, a clinic for other men who've been suffering from same-sex attractions. Now, we started raising money. Fundraising has begun. We, over summer, will be interviewing therapists and thinking about where in Florida we should call home. So we're not quite open yet. And therefore today, my message to you is, for now, merely one of hope. This does not have to be your life. It can be better than this. Because I've been where you are now, and I know what keeps you up at night. I know what haunts and torments you, and it doesn't have to be the end. It doesn't have to just be this for you.
I see good intentions. Although he's acting, he's exaggerating. I see someone who's trying to do the right thing, which we all should do, and I won't fault him for that. Just a warning that hope is a very dangerous, very manipulative word. If you saw my last video, I clung onto hope until the very end, and I maybe went too far towards the edge, if you get what I'm saying. Maybe hope brought me farther than was reasonable, and especially it's a tool that's used by the priest and church to keep you going in a direction that they want. And it was definitely used on me by the priests. If you're obedient, then miracles can happen. Statements like that, it's dangerous. Hope is a dangerous weapon. It's also something that's necessary. I don't want to just destroy the idea of hope, but it can be used in a manipulative way. So
watch this space. Try in whatever small way you can to make changes in your life. Seek out advice of your priests. Keep watching what we're doing here at True News and follow what I'm up to. And in the meantime, I love you, and I'm going to do everything I can to provide you with the tools you need to get better. Because what you feel at the moment is an inexorable and unavoidable sexuality is just a product of trauma that you might not even realize that you suffered.
What is it called when you impose your own circumstances on someone else? It's like projection, isn't it? I'm sure that there's people out there, especially as we're seeing the rapid increase of people who are not straight. I'll just leave it at that. Who, through some sort of trauma that they had in their life, they're confused. And I really do think that those people should have a place in order to receive the help that they need. Unfortunately, a lot of the therapy that people receive nowadays confirms people in whatever they believe, and I don't think that's right. So it's important to find a good therapist someone who is not just going to tell you, no, 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 you're right, you're right, you're right, but someone who challenges what you believe and what your perception of reality is. But to say something like your homosexuality is based on a trauma that you experienced, whether you know it or not, I think it's going too far, especially for some of us who never had that type of trauma, especially not the type of trauma that he's alluding to. I think that there's a lot of vague ideas that he's promoting, and throwing hope in there is dangerous. It's just dangerous.
I'm going to help you. In the meantime, God bless you, and like I said, watch this space.
Okay, so there's a lot to digest, and even as I'm making this video, a lot more thoughts are coming into my head that I don't want to smother you with for the present time. But yeah, I'd like to hear what you think. If you think that I'm completely wrong, why? If you have other ideas, if you heard different things, if you have a different experience, I would love to hear that. I think that one of the beautiful things about my channel, at least, is that I'm not here telling you what to think. My purpose is not to give you what my own position is, because I am also a traveler. I'm still trying to figure things out. I hope that throughout this journey we call life, that I am challenged and that I come to new conclusions and expand my own perception. And that takes talking about it and conversing. And right now, this is the way that I converse about it. So I appreciate your input, and I hope that we can start a conversation. So yeah, so leave a comment below, like the video if you thought that it was interesting, share, tell people about it. I depend 100% on you. And if you can financially support me, I have a page on Ko-fi, which is like Patreon, where you can go and make a small donation. Every little bit helps so much, you have no idea. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'm trying to see what I would look like if I got the Milo mullet. I think I could pull it off.